welcome back to Sister Squad, Miller and Lola. So today we'll be making chocolate cupcakes with some frosting, which is going to be chocolate fudge.
Before we get started, make sure you subscribe, like, put on your notifications, and
click the bell button and turn to your share with your FS friends and family. Let's get started.
Our dry ingredients for this recipe will be 115 grams of plain all-purpose flour, or 3/4 of a cup, 165 grams of caster sugar, half a teaspoon of baking soda, or 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and a pinch of salt. For our wet ingredients, we will need 120 grams or 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 60 grams or 2 ounces of dark chocolate, preferably 70% or over cocoa, 35 grams of cocoa powder, preferably Dutch processed, 125 milliliters of milk, getting the milk out, 65 milliliters of vegetable oil, 2 large eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1.5 teaspoons of white vinegar. And for our frosting, we will need 120 grams or 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 35 grams of cocoa powder, 300 grams of soft icing sugar / powder sugar, and this cannot be pure icing sugar, 3 to 4 tablespoons of milk.
This can be any milk.
And sprinkles or decorations that you would like.
Any type of sprinkles you want, and we're doing hundreds and thousands.
So let's get started. Oh, and you'll be needing an oven. Make sure that when you're using the oven that you have a parent to help you with it. And for our utensils we will need for measuring our stuff, we will need a whisk.
We will need
that's a cupcake liner.
We'll need a measuring cup,
a sieve.
We will need a spoon,
1 tablespoon measuring device, 1 teaspoon measuring device.
You would need a cupcake tray or a muffin tray, and so these things would go in here, but not with the plastic, of course.
And a bowl, and a microwavable bowl as well.
And if you want, you can use a wooden spoon. And also, you don't need any electronic mixes or anything like that, so it's all by hand.
And we normally pre-measure our ingredients before we get started, so it makes us easier to cook. We just finished measuring our ingredients, but before you get started in the cooking, make sure you preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius, and if it's on a fan, to 160 degrees Celsius, and make sure you put your rack in the middle of the oven. So now we're going to sift all our dry ingredients, which are the flour, the sugar, the bicarbonate soda, and the salt. So sift into the thing.
So you're going to put all of them in first before you start sifting. You have to get all of it out.
So now we're just going to sift them. And when you finish sifting, make sure you whisk it with a whisk, of course. And make sure that you can also use the whisk as like a beater to help you sift it. So we're nearly done, and then we're going to get Lola to whisk it. Here you go.
Just have to wait for a little bit for everything to come in.
And there we go.
Alright, so now you're going to mix. So it's not going to be wet because it's all the dry ingredients.
And make sure you whisk it very briefly and, try and get all of it together.
Yeah.
So make sure that everything is mixed in.
Now we've finished mixing our dry ingredients. We're going to put our chocolate into a bowl that you can, it's a microwavable bowl, and you're going to put your butter in it.
For how long?
For 45 seconds.
it's not yet, because you got to mix it after. If it's not yet set and it isn't able to mix it, that is not smooth and silky, you got to put it in the microwave for another 20 seconds. And if it's still not yet, do it again and again until you have it perfect.
Yeah.
You waited.
You just waited.
Wait. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We're going to use our oven mitts because it can be very hot.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it out and mix it with a normal spoon. We don't think ours is set entirely yet.
Yeah.
It's still a bit.
It smells kind of good.
It does smell good. Mix it.
Is that?
Can I try?
Oh, there's some chocolate, and we're gonna put it in
The microwave for another 20 seconds, and we'll come back to
So now we're going to be adding the cocoa powder.
to our melted butter and chocolate mix.
Yeah.
So you have to add our ingredients one at a time.
And you're going to mix it after you put it in.
I prefer using a whisk as it is much easier to use.
Yeah.
Here we go. Now we can add in the milk from before. Ooh,
Looks like a coffee kind of.
coffee.
Making coffee.
Looks like we're making coffee.
Yeah. And then you're going to mix that after you put the milk in. Then you're going to put the vegetable oil in. It's going to be very hot. Pour it in. And then you're going to mix. So now you're going to put the eggs in. But before you put it in, make sure there's no shell, like little shells in it. And the easiest way to take the shells out is if you have a bigger shell and you just scoop it out. That's the easiest way. And we're putting the eggs in last because we don't want them to cook. Because it might be hot.
In they go.
Yep.
This is harder to mix it. Eggies. Eggy, eggy, eggy. You can still see them. Okay, so we'll come back to you when we're finished.
Yeah.
When you've finished mixing your wet ingredients, we're going to pour all of our ingredients into one big bowl together and then mix it.
And you're going to use a scraper so then you can get everything in it.
We get all of the wet ingredients inside. And then we will whisk it together.
And you can use a spoon to scrape everything.
Yeah, it's easier.
Yeah.
Do you want me to try scraping it?
Yes.
Can you hold it?
I can hold.
Make sure you go all around that bowl.
Yeah, just every.
It might be hard to get most of it out.
It might take a little bit long to put it in, but yeah. So this is going to be really quick when you eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we should be done by now.
Yeah.
Oh, and some it's coming out here. Can you get a tissue? It's leaking out from the bottom. And there we go. So now we're going to whisk it. Finally.
Can I do some?
Yeah, we can take a turn. So it might be a little bit hard to whisk as the flour and the dry ingredients can be very difficult.
Yeah.
But keep on pushing.
Yeah.
That's
Keep on mixing. Keep on mixing.
your turn, Will, if you want to try.
So when you have mixed well, you can add your vanilla.
Extract.
Yeah.
And your vinegar. We'll be putting in our vanilla first. Put it in. when you're doing this, make sure you mix it very well. So, for the vinegar, you need 1.5 teaspoons of the vinegar, and make sure it is white vinegar. No other type of vinegar can be used. Like I said before, you have to mix incredibly well, as this can be a very tricky part of making the cupcake.
So you're going to be getting an ice cream scooper or any spoon that fits you too.
Pour in the batter from the mixture and pour it into the cupcake liner. You're going to want to put in 3/4 of the liner or just over it. Here we go. There you can see.
Yeah.
Because if you put more than 3/4 in, the cupcake is just going to rise up really high, and it's just going to ruin the flavour of the cupcakes and how they look as well. So that is 1 down. There we go. Once you finish pouring all the batter into the cupcake liners, make sure you put your cupcake tray into the oven for 18 to 20 minutes.
This is where you need your parents' help.
Now we're going to show you how to make the chocolate fudge icing. First, you're going to put your butter into the microwave for around 30 seconds. Yep. If it hasn't melted by then, you can put it in for another 10 seconds, something like that, until it is completely melted. Now we're gonna waiting. You're not waiting. 18, 16, 15, 14, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done.
Now you can use some mittens so that if it's hot.
And we think ours is completely melted like that.
Get the spoon.
And we're gonna we're gonna mix it in and add in our cocoa powder. In it goes. And there
It's getting darker.
once you finish mixing that, we're gonna add in some icing mixture. And mix that too. Ooh, ice cream.
There's a lot.
Icing powder. Wow. We're gonna.
It's a lot of icing.
I think some of it went in my mouth. It's so sweet.
Yeah, some of it went in my mouth.
Oh wow.
And you should use a big bowl so so
Gets
it doesn't
spices.
overfill, you know?
And now we're gonna add in our milk to make it a little bit easier for all to mix. Wow. You really got to get around the edges so you include all of the stuff you need. See, now it's getting easier, right?
Yes, it's getting a little
I hope
bit.
it is. After 80 minutes of our cupcakes cooking, they are finally finished. But we're just going to test one more time by putting a putting a toothpick into the cupcake in the middle. If it comes out clean, it means the cupcake is completely finished.
Yeah.
And it has.
It is.
Our cupcakes are good. And we're now going to move it into a cooling rack straight away, because then they got to iron. They got to cool down, not iron. What am I saying iron for? So carefully. You need an adult to help you with this part, as it can get really hot touching them. Try not to touch this bit, the actual rack, the actual tin, because it can really burn your skin. We're just touching the wrapper. Here we go.
I can't take that one out.
They look perfect.
So after the cupcakes have cooled, we're going to put some of the icing and the sprinkles on if you want some.
Let's get started. So I'm taking a little bit of my icing and I'm just scraping it with the knife down with the spoon, because I want to eat all of it. And there we go.
What I'm doing is I'm taking some of the icing and putting it on the knife, so then the knife can just spread it around.
Yep.
And when you ice them, you can either take the wrap off a little bit, or you can take it off the whole way.
Okay. And now you just want to spread it around, kind of like butter on a toast, if you've done that before. And I'm gonna just spread it around the whole top bit so I can eat it and enjoy it. Now I'm gonna add in the sprinkles. Ours is way at the top, so I'm just gonna quickly use this and sprinkle some on. I'm just gonna spread it everywhere.
So you're just gonna take a little bit in your hand,
Just letting it.
and just sprinkle some in it.
And there we go. Here is my one. And
I'm nearly finished.
I'm gonna eat it now.
And here's my one. And I'm going to save it for somebody else. And I want to, can I eat one of the plain ones? Okay, I'm going to eat one of them. That one out. Oh, I'm going to eat that one. It's a taste test.
Very good.
That is so good.
Mhm.
Really good.